Offboarding is equally important to onboarding a client, and I also think it's often overlooked. So in today's episode, I'll be walking you through tips and ideas to successfully offboard your clients to help you increase your renewal rates and your raving testimonials. Hey, I'm Amanda, and welcome to the Best Damn Coach podcast, where I will teach you how to coach yourself, how to coach your clients, and how to run your coaching business. The number one goal of this show, though, is to help you be the best damn coach you can be so your clients go out and tell the world about you. So let's do the damn thing. Hey coaches, before we dive into this week's episode, I'm so excited to tell you about an upcoming free workshop that I'm going to be hosting called How to Create Your Signature Coaching Framework That Actually Sells. Here's the reality. I'm going to drop some truth on you. By 2024, the coaching industry is projected to be over an $11 billion industry. And I know that you decided to be a coach because you want to serve people. And sometimes it feels a little bit frustrating when there's so many brilliant coaches out there, and it might feel impossible that you are going to be the one that stands out above the rest. And sometimes you get lost in those thoughts. You feel yourself slipping into these imposter feelings, wondering, why would somebody choose you? Or are you going to be able to actually get your clients the results that they came to you for? There can feel like there's so much you want to teach them, so much you quote unquote should teach them, that it feels overwhelming and you're not sure where to start and what best next step to take. Cue in your signature coaching framework. Why? Because ain't nobody going to do it like you do it. A signature framework is your methodology, your unique steps, a step-by-step process that you are going to walk your clients through time and time again so they get the exact results that they came to you for. And what I see is a lot of coaches don't actually have it, or they think, I don't have this yet. I haven't been doing this long enough. You are wrong. And that's why on June 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific, I am going to help you create and walk you through how to create your signature coaching framework so that every client that shows up with you gets the results they came to you for. But more importantly, you stand out above a sea of coaches who are doing the exact same things. So I would love for you to join me and don't miss out on this amazing workshop. You can sign up and save your seat at amanda-walker.com/framework. And throughout the process, I'm going to teach you the key to developing a signature framework that actually produces results. I'm going to help you understand some of the biggest mistake coaches make when creating their framework and what to do instead. So join me in this free workshop so you can guarantee that every client comes to you and walks away with the exact results they came to you for. Welcome to the Best Damn Coach podcast. Amanda here. I hope you're all having an amazing week on whatever day you are tuning in to this week's episode. I am excited to dive into a topic I actually don't think is talked about enough. We hear lots of onboarding, client attraction, what to do when you get the client, but what do you do when we get to the end of a client relationship in whatever way that looks like? And so today we're going to be talking about how to successfully offboard a client. And the reason I'm talking about this is one of many examples of deeper dive discussions that we have inside of the Best Damn Coach. And coming up next month, which is the month of July inside the community, we are going to be looking at how to get more granular in these and really use the offboarding space as a place to increase client retention, increase renewal, which is a part of retention, and go out and help your existing clients become walking billboard advertisements of your work, which is, from my perspective, the most effective way to grow your coaching business. It is not outdated, friends. The number one way we are still attracting clients for the majority of businesses is through referrals. It's through building a network. It's through serving your people really freaking well so that they tell more people about you. And so there are ways to grow this and double down on what you're already doing a decent job of and up-level it to a place of excellence so that you can increase these opportunities. Existing clients are the warmest clients that exist, which means they are the most likely to renew with you or move into a different offer. And that is also the least expensive client. And so we want to make sure that we're really looking at all the opportunities to leverage that inside of our business. So I'm going to be walking you through some tips and ideas to successfully offboard your client to help you increase all the amazing things you're already doing. And while some of this might feel like, oh yeah, duh, I know this, I'm most likely pretty certain that I'm going to share some stories of clients I've served or within my own coaching practice that are going to help you maybe make a little bit of mindset shift on how this looks in your existing business. And if some of it's a little, redundant, well then yay, because we need to hear it a whole bunch of times. Now, this is simple, but what is offboarding? And that is the ending of a client relationship after service. It's the formal separation between you as the coach and them as the client. And I think we're going to really talk about offboarding in kind of two ways today. One way offboarding can happen is at the end of a successful client relationship. That means that you have delivered on the negotiated contract and agreed upon timeline or deliverables of that contract. And this isn't just for coaches, right? You could be a mentor, you could be a guide, you could be on some sort of online service. So that's still at the end. And then there are occasions where it's necessary to end a client relationship earlier than you expected. And that could be for many reasons. It didn't go as planned. The energy wasn't aligned. They're not necessarily showing up to do the work. And because I know the majority of you will have the first, you're going to have all these amazing, successful client relationships. I'm going to be spending most of my time talking about that today. And then I'll go through some feedback on how to also end the client relationships that don't always go till the end of what we expected them to go, because that is inevitably an option that might happen inside your coaching practice. And so as you're listening to the episode, put the hat on, wear it for yourself, take the learnings that I offer and really apply them to how this will look inside of your business. I run my business. You run your business. We learn from people that are ahead of us that have failed and fallen on their face, because a lot of what I've learned is because I did it the wrong way. And now I want to help you do it a better way, not necessarily the right way, but establish, a right way for you. So I first want to talk about the importance before we kind of get into that final step of closure, and that I've recorded an entire episode. I would go back and listen to it on how to increase renewal rates in your business. But I want to talk about that briefly before I move right into the exit plan. I'll drop the link to that particular episode in the show notes as well. But I want to remind you that the most simple way to grow your income is by finding placements for existing clients to stay with you. And I think sometimes we get so trapped in this is my offering suite and this is the way it looks, that we forget that there's clients that have really loved working with us in some capacity. And there is likely opportunity to continue to, nurture that capacity in some way. And their goals change, they shift. And you might be thinking, I really need to deliver this outcome, but they may have loved working with you so much and created such transformation that they'd love to work on a new goal with you. And so it's important that I think the beginning of the relationship to just be open in dialogue and transparent with them that, if this works out really well and we both feel aligned, then there are going to be opportunities to continue to work with me. And then I like to have that conversation if about 2/3 of the way through the deliverable. So if that were a 6-month relationship, around 4.5 months, 5 months, we're definitely talking about next steps, because either the relationship's going to end formally at that point, for which I will go through a series of events. Or if the relationship's going to continue, I'm going to do something different, which is going to be provide a proposal and some options for them to continue with me. So having that conversation, not just oh, it's 6 months, bye. That's not necessarily going to serve you of the highest capacity. It feels really good when you put in really aligned opportunities to finish the relationship in an amicable way. I'll give some examples around this. And I've worked with clients who are in my high level mastermind, or who did more intimate, frequent one-to-one coaching. So they might have worked with me for 6 months and the relationship was freaking awesome. And they really satisfied their goals. And what I noticed that this was actually a constant theme. They weren't in need of consistent coaching, every week or every other week, but they wanted a back pocket kind of secret weapon. So they could touch base with someone, have a brainstorming session, really articulate some things, and also maybe have Voxer access for me. That's what my kind of renewal options look like for existing clients. So I created an offer, which I only offer to existing clients, that looks more like a year-long continuity in coaching. This is kind of like In-N-Out's secret menu. You have this forward-facing menu that everybody gets access to. And once you become my client, you get access to the secret menu. And the secret menu has things on it that I only offer clients that I'm really aligned with, that have demonstrated action and desire, to continue, and that it just makes sense for me and I'm excited about. Or for instance, there's, when I'm working with coaches one-to-one, the next opportunity for them that's really fantastic is to come into our group coaching for the BDC. It's a great way, once they've got things up and running, to continually be supported in a more intimate style of coaching program. Or sometimes clients just love to have the one-off sessions, to which I do the VIP days. I love VIP days. And this is a great way. I have clients that will just book a VIP day a quarter or a few times a year just to keep that idea session brainstorming, and they kind of bring it all to the table in that one session. So those are all opportunities and ideas of what that might look like for you and how that might, really serve the continual service of people you love working with. And two, right, it's an easy way to increase profit because those people are right already underneath your nose. So when it comes to offboarding, we're going to assume for the next part of this discussion that these are clients that the relationship has been fruitful, they've been consistent, and even if they haven't been consistent necessarily, but you are seeing this through to the end of the journey. And this could happen in a one-to-one session. This could happen in group coaching. Either way, you get to decide how you want this to look. I do these things actually in both aspects of my coaching. So part of an effective and successful offboarding process is creating celebration sessions. I call them celebration sessions. And so at the end of every client journey, I create a space, a one call, and all we're doing is celebrating. I actually go back to the beginning and I read, amongst many things on this call, but here's a few of the highlighted things that I like to do. I go back and read to them verbatim what their goals were from the beginning. And remember, I've been checking on these goals since day one, either verbally to them or just me going back, okay, are we hitting these things? Are we getting them to where we want, they said they wanted to go? And then I read them back. I'm like, can you imagine, this is what you said 6 months ago? Where do you think you are now? And they, it's a really emotional session because what they see is how far they've come. And I think this is why it's a critical time to revisit these more frequently than just the last sessions as well. And these celebrations really look at all the amazing things they've done, what we've co-created together. I ask things like, what were the best part of the journey? What were the most challenging parts of the journey? This is just so many opportunities for you to create anything you want inside these celebration sessions, but it makes for just a lovely way to end the entire journey. And at that point, at the end, it's like, I am here for you. If there's any way I can support you moving forward, if we've decided that renewal isn't a best fit at that time. And, if there's anybody in their life that they feel like I would be a great fit, I always appreciate, the referrals. You can capture that, record it, and that can be a testimonial with their permission. You can grab bits and pieces of it. And also it's a great way to even just offer that as a bonus for them to go back and see that celebration. You can make it super bougie. You could, be cheersing champagne over Zoom. You could do these in person, and you could do so many things to the session to make it what you want it to be. But it's just a great way to end on an energetic high. And I do this after all the other deliverables and such are met. I actually usually just throw this in as a bonus unexpected call. So I say in our last session, hey, this will be our last official coaching session. I'd like to put one more call on the calendar for us to use this as a celebration session. And they love that. The other thing that is important at the end of a coaching relationship is to collect testimonials. Now, this is, I hope, in addition to all the testimonials you've been collecting from them throughout, right? We've talked about on the show, formal and informal. You've been creating this little folder, stockpiling it so that you have all the evidence of their success. And what's really awesome now is to do this more formally. Now, you can do this a few ways. I want to keep it super simple. It could be some email questions that you create. And again, inside Best Damn Coach, we literally have these templates all made up for you. We give you the questions. We give you sample forms. We walk you through the process so you don't have to start from scratch because that's what takes up so much time. We want to save you the time so you can focus on client attraction and you can focus on your coaching and your people. So you could send emails that have questions to ask. You could create a Google form or type form or use it inside of Dubsado, whatever marketing platform you want inside of Monday. They also have forms too. You could also do this video. You could ask them questions live or have a team member ask questions live and get their verbal responses and audio responses. And like I said before, the celebration session could be in supplement to this or in addition to, because you're going to capture so much goodness there. I've realized I was doing these sessions and I was like, dang, we should have just recorded this session. And I use it as both. I've tried using it as a podcast episode too, but I find that it's actually better when we separate those things and we keep our discussion kind of intimate. And then if I'm going to bring them on as a client success story on the podcast, I keep that totally separate. And then let's talk about the purpose of these. Is once we have these testimonials, I think a few things happen. This becomes more evidence collection for your work, right? And you get to see all the beautiful things, like the client wins are your wins. But second is we can repurpose these, right? Through social content, on podcasts, on blogs, on our website, on sales pages. And so these become just the critical way to build trust. Or like me, I send out every Friday some sort of win from my clients to demonstrate like the amazing things that they are doing and to show again that I am who I say I am and my clients are doing the things that I say they are. And this is a critical part where I, again, think people leave money on the table all the time because they don't have a system in place for this to happen. So as I am sharing this, you don't have to do all these things, but I would just choose one as a starting place. And I would really encourage it to be the testimonial part first, because I really want you to not miss out on gathering this when it's fresh. Because if we've gone 3 months or 4 months and we go back, then like the energy is shifted. They're on to the next thing. They might already be slipping back to old patterns, depending on the person, if depending on what you're doing. And so it's great to like get it while it's fresh and the energy is high and nurtured. Tip 3 on how to create a successful offboarding is to conduct what I call exit interviews. This is when you and your team get more granular around opportunities for improvement. Hold on, I want to go back and say one thing I forgot. These celebration sessions and testimonials can all be done in a group format too. When I ran the fan program, we used to do an entire group celebration and I would ask some of the same questions and everybody would ping pong off each other and it was super beautiful and intimate connection. I close all of my formal group closures with this reading that I do every time. So you can do all these things that I'm mentioning today one-to-one easily in a group structure as well. Exit interviews for me are actually conducted to like get more data. These might be some of the harder questions that we need to know as creators and as service providers so that we can be better. So this is things like, why didn't you show up? Why did you come to calls? Why didn't you come to calls? What parts can we do better? Where did we fail? What parts were the best for you? And these are just generic questions, but these are the important part of giving ourselves opportunities for growth. And understanding it's not one and done. We were talking in one of my group programs recently, a Brene Brown statement, and that is like, there's a shitty first draft. And if I go back to my teaching days, my first hour of my first year of teaching was my shittiest first draft because they got the worst of me. By 7th hour, I was already better. A few years into teaching, even better, right? And it's only getting better, but we have to get feedback. We have to collect the data, and that is hard to do. We can't make it too much about our worthiness or our success. We're just collecting the data. So this can be done again with emails. This can be done with a live recording. You could actually have a team member do this if you don't even want to do it. And then you get to reflect and then use this data. And you could even kind of dump in the testimonial interview with the exit interview if you want to be one and done. So I like to do this too in my group programs as people leave. I like to, when I haven't really one-to-one coach them, I love to get intimate with them and find out more about them, what served them and what didn't, because that is how we get better. Tip number 4 is as you offboard, create an intentional space to ask for referrals. So again, this could be in any of the formats I've listed above: email, forms, video, live, when you're recording with them live. You could just simply ask, is there anybody that you feel like would be of value for me to reach out to? Can you give any warm introductions? Like, not offhand, like, can you keep me in mind, right? You're just planting the seed that you are open for more clients and you want to call amazing people like them in. The one thing I will say is you need to have discernment at this point of like, if they're an ideal client or not, because if you want more of somebody or something, those are the stories and the testimonials to really highlight, because they naturally will call in similar people. If somebody isn't your best client, then you also have to think about, take their information in and use discernment as to how you're going to repurpose that or how that matters to you, because there's going to be a spectrum of clients. But I like to really focus on, man, she's like, oh, why do I get so energized by serving that person? And then that is the person that I really want to spend a lot of time with to learn more about them. This is also a point where you want to close out any access to anything that they have. If you're not offering lifetime access and it's temporary access, like to a community or to content, this is the time to make sure that you have a system in place for that to happen. And maybe in a group coaching program, this is also where you like celebrate them off and you're like, so-and-so, this is their last week in the community, like show them love. We're going to miss them. Like you can publicly let them know, that they're leaving and what an honor it's been to serve them. And you just want to make sure any deliverables you've promised are completely solid and you've met that time frame. And then what I like to do here is usually some sort of closing gift. Again, depending on the investment point, some sort of closing gift. It could even be just a handwritten card that's like, it's been an honor to serve you. And thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Now, something that I don't think is often hit on here that is challenging, I will say it challenges me if I'm just being really transparent, is setting boundaries around what happens after. Man, I love my people and I get very invested in their futures and what they're creating and their success. And it's like you're in a relationship and then all of a sudden it's like cut off, right? And so there's a lot of self-coaching, I think, that goes into being mindful of that and finding ways to set boundaries for ourselves energetically and also for them. I've had clients that often want to keep connecting and I personally love the connection. But sometimes we have to set boundaries when the relationship has ended and what they keep showing up for consistently is more business, business, business. And that's where you have to delicately reframe and just say, hey, I'm so happy that I've added value for you, and if you want to do more coaching together, let's talk about options. And this is a challenging thing to do because I know I really love my people, and a boundary that works well for me and is, I will say that not necessarily a boundary, but I've found that in some of the coaching relationships, it ended and then it was like, shh, they never talked to me again. And I was like, ooh, that doesn't feel good either because I love my people. And so I've found that over time, what I love to do is just keep touching back on people. Honestly, people will come to heart and I will send an email or a message like, you came to my mind, how are things coming along? And there's no intention of renewing them. It's legit. I want to know, are you creating success? Because that to me is the real truth about the journey with me is if they're doing awesome a year, 2 years, 4 years out, then I know we've done some awesome work together. Sometimes though, it becomes necessary to set some more clear boundaries. And again, these are kind of the discussions we have inside the BDC as they come up. This is a great place for coaches to be because these are the unspokens of coaching, the kind of grieving the loss of clients, when your heart is really invested in people and understanding that that's just part of the process. And it does require, your own self-coaching. So those are the tips I would offer for you around creating a successful offboarding process. And the one thing I wanted to circle back to is what happens if we have a relationship that needs to end sooner than expected because something came up. Could be a complete life change and you feel like it's an amicable time to maybe end early. You feel like energetically it's not aligned. Rapport was broken on either end and it's just not a relationship, coaching relationship or client relationship that you want to continue. There are moments where we recognize that and we literally just have to bless and release and we feel like a weight lifted sometimes. And it's for the best interest of our client, equally for ourselves. Because if we're showing up and it's just, it's probably like that for them too. And we have to just evaluate for ourselves what that means. The thing I will say about, offboarding a client like this is you want to make sure that any agreements you've made in contract are honored. So you have to vet that out based on your contract before anything. Know what you're getting into. I'm not here to speak legal, but you should have a contract in place without hesitation. And you should be clear on what that's going to look like should that arise, because you're going to serve enough people inevitably that this is going to happen at some point. But when you start to feel that, and if that comes up, this is going to require one of those uncomfortable conversations to where you and your client need to come together and just figure out what are the next best steps. You can identify the factual information that has come up along the way and begin that conversation of what those next best steps are. And at that point, the offboarding is still some of the similar things, right? You want to close out deliverables that you've agreed upon when you're ending it prematurely. You want to make sure that access is taken care of. If you feel like an exit interview is necessary, I've definitely done that where I'm like, okay, this relationship's coming to a close. Would you be open to coming back and just talking about how we can both learn from this process? And so I complete an exit interview. It's from a place of unconditional love. Like I legit want to learn, and I don't take personal meaning. I do a lot of self-coaching to step into those sessions, but those are also some of the sessions and times where I've grown the most, or it's really validated my decision where I'm like, oh, I really needed to hear that because this just tells me I made the best move possible in my business for me. And at the end of the day, it's your business. You get to decide what is a best fit for you. If this becomes a pattern though, I would just offer there is maybe a little bit more that needs to be investigated around this. And if you see some of the same themes and struggles coming up, then this is an opportunity for growth for you to better your relationship with your clients and to also up-level your coaching. What I want to say is that the more people you serve, the more these opportunities will come up for growth. And regardless if it's just the most amazing client relationship or one that's challenged you, creating a system for offboarding is going to help you grow. And internally, externally, more clients, more clarity on who your ideal client really is and how to serve them of the best capacity. So come next month inside the BDC, we're actually setting all of these things up. We're going to audit our existing processes, dive deeper into what's missing, to have conversations about how more deeply we can leverage some of the existing processes we have or put in place processes that we don't. Because ultimately, being the best damn coach requires you to be skilled at coaching and growing the business side of things. And I think the offboarding process is actually like a beautiful blend of both things. So if you have any questions about today's episode, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram, my favorite place to hang out. You can catch me there at A Walk My Way, or feel free to send us an email at support@amanda-walker.com. My team and I are in tune with that email. And this is a great time to leave a review. If you found like you got lots of juicy nuggets, this episode really spelled out how to create a successful offboarding process. I would love to hear about it inside the reviews on whatever podcasting platform you are listening on, because that definitely helps more people find us and adds credibility and just gratitude to all the energy that we put in to produce this show 2 times a week, and really helps my team see that together we're making impact in the world, which is really important to us. And of course, we'd love to have you as a new Best Damn Coach inside the BDC. You can learn more about the BDC at my website at amanda-walker.com/Best Damn Coach. And until next episode, go out, coach them up, change lives, and we'll see you next time. Every week, I put my heart and soul into this podcast to bring you value and to help you grow as a person and as a coach. And one of the ways, very simple ways you can return that favor is by leaving us a review. So if you haven't left us a review, head on over to Apple or Spotify, leave us a review, let us know how we're doing, let us know what content you love and which content pieces are really speaking to you now.